everyone. It's Rosie and Matthew here. And personally, I'm coming to you live from Copenhagen, where I'm visiting my lovely daughter Maya. Matthew's back home in his Canadian paradise, and we thought we would share a little personal dream arc update with you. Now, some of you may have heard that Richard Rudd, the dream arc sage, as well as the author and founder of the Gene Keys, recently held a huge live in-person event in London. And it was all about the future human and the great change that we're all moving through. So the weekend event took place in a beautiful building called Friends House in the heart of London. There were almost 600 people who attended, and it was quite an experience on so many levels. So much love and care was just poured into the contents of the teachings by Richard, of course, and Elijah Parker and Sally Middleton, Jen Nelson, Hannah Bernard, Jesse Chestnut, and of course our wonderful Green Knight Matthew came together to engage in this massive planning and coordinating effort that went way beyond the actual weekend itself and included all kinds of gatherings. And I believe there were almost 100 Gene Keys team members, guides, and ambassadors who joined us, many generously volunteering their time and energy to make everything just run smoothly and help everyone feel welcome. And there's nothing like synarchy in action, where you really see and feel just how important each person is, each with their essential and unique role. We were kind of like a group of howling wild dogs practicing alchemical teamwork. So as many of you know, we like to call the Dream Arc the online course that gets people offline so that we can reconnect with ourselves, with the natural world around us, with each other, and with the village of living, breathing, and embodied humans that we are. So this was really one of those life experiences that affirmed the importance of that, of being together in the world with all of our senses operating. For one thing, both Matthew and I got to meet so many people for the first time in person, in many cases after maybe having known and worked with them for years online, or after not having seen them for years. That happened to me with many people, or maybe since previous lifetimes. Maybe we never met in this lifetime. And I mean, Matthew and I, as you know, many of you know who are familiar with the Dream Arc, are basically seeing each other's faces on a lovely screen on a daily basis. And this was the first time we got to meet in person and give each other a big bear hug. And I gotta say, Matthew truly is a bear. And one of the things I learned is that I happen to be working with several giants. Richard, of course, is super tall, for those of you who don't know. And here's a shot of Matthew together with Mark Bentley, who came from down under Australia, another one of my favorite towering Atlantean beings. Now, some of us were able to get a sneak peek at Richard's family's over 300-year-old wine shop and business called Berry Brothers and Rudd. That was absolutely fascinating and beautiful, and a treat to see and experience Richard in another one of his major life elements. After the big event, a small group of us were able to take a day trip to Avery, which is such a magical and mystical place of beauty and green men and powerful Adam and Eve stones and even synchronistic encounters with favorite authors. And I'm going to let Matthew share all about those things. Another thing I got to really feel in my bones during my time in London was just how many people are on the Dream Arc journey and being transformed by it. It can really be hard when you're working behind the scenes a lot of the time to feel the impact that the Dream Arc is having on people. So it was so touching and encouraging for me and Matthew to meet so many Dream Arc journeyers and enthusiasts from all over the world, and to hear their inspiring stories, their crazy synchronicities, their waking and sleeping dreams, their unexpected and life-changing encounters, and all of the ways that their lives and their relationships are being touched and expanded by their Dream Arc adventures. And I tell you, it just makes it all feel worth it. So I was particularly struck by how many people came up to me expressing their full-hearted support for the Universal Love Curriculum, which is a very exciting project a small and growing group of us have been working on behind the scenes, which ultimately will bring the Gene Keys and the Dream Arc to children all over the world. So that was so encouraging for me. And more I feel that the Dream Arc has its own spirit, its own mission, its own dharma. And even though the weekend didn't really have anything to do with the Dream Arc spirit was really alive and well. And one of my favorite moments was when a beautiful singer-songwriter named Zohar gave us this spontaneous mini concert in the hallway, and we were all just moved to tears. I also couldn't help but think of our larger Dream Arc community and all of you who weren't able to come to this particular event, or maybe you didn't even know about it, or at least not in body, and people who we would love to meet. And Matthew and I feel similarly. And several people actually came up to me from all sorts of places saying that they'd love to host some sort of Dream Arc event one day in the area where they live. So by the time our time in London ended, we had plenty of incentive to keep dreaming up possibilities for live in-person events and Dream Arc events in particular. So if you happen to be watching this video and you can feel that you might be interested in participating in a live in-person Dream Arc event one day, please feel free to let us know in the comments just for fun. And know that we're already contemplating one possible event together with a few wonderful collaborators in British Columbia. And we have a dream of doing something in Australia too, just planting little seeds here. Now, I'm sure that Matthew will be sharing about the roles that the animals played in our time in London, so I'll leave that to him. But I do want to say that it is always so heartening to see how the Dream Arc can come alive no matter where we are, right? You can be smack dab in the middle of a cold, hard city and have inspiring encounters with wildness, whether it's within or around you. Okay, so during the weekend event, we had a store full of Richard's books, and it was so exciting to see so many of them just kind of flying off the shelves. And of course, it really made me and Matthew look even more forward to the day when the Dream Arc Oracle box set becomes available. We are really working hard on it, and it's going to be gorgeous, worth the wait, and I keep telling that to myself. I'm about as antsy about this project as anybody else. Now, Richard, of course, shared about so many things over the weekend. And as he did a deep dive into the great change as well as the new human on the way, and his sense of what's going to be needed from all of us in the turbulent and transformative times to come, I really felt the uniquely powerful role that the Dream Arc can play, and just how important it's going to be that we all get even more connected to the natural world around and within us, that we hone our intuitions and use our imaginations more and more. That we get increasingly comfortable with discomfort, descending and finding treasures deep within the underworld, that we become increasingly skilled at being with and even playing with and dancing with the unknown. The weekend made me appreciate the 12 Dream Arc categories, our quests, even more than usual, and how, for example, these times are calling out to all of us, asking us to practice unifying in the face of so much seeming division. To listen to and trust the messages, the messengers that we receive from our dreams, our hearts, and the world around us, and really to courageously leap into the new world like warriors for love and healing and laughter. And as the old world dissolves into a chrysalis, we are going to need as much creativity and intuition that we can gather up in order to really envision the new world into being. That's for sure. So I could go on, but instead I will give you Matthew. Matthew, you want to talk?
Thank you, Rosie. Love hearing your shares about your experiences there, because it really was quite a profound experience going to London. And there's so much unfolding right now as the ripples of that event are felt in our community. It was so awesome meeting Rosie for the first time. We were hosting a guides event, and there was this stairwell that people would come down in towards the event together. And for the early part of the evening, I was just in anticipation of Rosie's arrival to be able to meet her for the first time. Because yes, working together for so long together and never having met in person. And that goes for everybody that I met that evening and everybody that we met over the following few days. And it was just so warm. The whole weekend was so warm. There was just so much present. And yes, there was a little bit of Dream Arc magic. This particular event, for me at least, was brought to me by the fox and by the lion. The fox was one that wasn't just me. I was receiving photographs and videos from people around London, and foxes can be seen around London. They can be seen in the parks, but they can also be seen in people's yards. The friend I was staying with, he had foxes in his yard, but we didn't see any for the first 5 or 6 days. My first visitation was when the fox was from the very last day that I was there, just as I'd packed my bags and I was ready to leave. And he said, right, okay, I'll come on by for a visit. And I love the fox. It's this real trickster energy. It was great to hear other people meeting with the fox and having those foxy experiences. So, it's something as we head into this new year, it's like here we were seated with the medicine, and now we get to sit with it, to be with it, to explore it in the months to come. Now, the other one that was really present for me, and I like to think it was also present for those of us when we were sort of paying attention to it, is the lion. Now, a lion did not show up in the streets of London, but there were a number of lion connections. And it was really fascinating for me co-organizing this guides event with Jesse Chestnut and Maria Soroka. We'd been planning this event together, but originally when Jesse and I had first had a conversation, I was really intrigued by the work of Banksy, the artist Banksy, who had gone around London and he was painting these animals, these murals on buildings around London. It became like this great adventure or a hunt to find these creatures around London. And so the space that we ended up holding this event, I only found out after we booked it, was that the Princess of Wales pub had a picture of Banksy's, one of his art murals. Now, not one of the ones that he'd recently done, but it was a well-known art mural, and it was of a lion. And then over the weekend, it was actually interesting. People were telling me that some people were having to take trains into the event because of living a bit further out. But trains are the way you get around London. And one of the lines was called the Lioness Line, and it had been just christened that week, just been christened the Lioness Line that week. And then well, not the last, there was a few more lion synchronicities, but a number of us went on to Avery after the event. We were meeting and gathering at the Red Lion pub. And so lion was really present, this solar being. And for anyone interested, it's connected to the 25th gene key. And it's the 25th gene key also happens to be the third sacred seal in the work of the seven sacred seals. And it's here to heal the wound of shame. And it's the city of universal love. And the star associated is Regulus, known as Cor Leonis, the heart of the lion. And another fun connection to the 25th gene key is that in the work of the seven sacred seals, Richard speaks of different gene keys related to some of the countries of the world. He hasn't been to and explored all of them, but having grown up, having lived in England, having walked in Wales, having been to Romania, Bulgaria, places like that, he's got a sense of these kind of overarching gene keys for the countries. And for the United Kingdom, it is the 25th gene key. And so lion just felt very present there. And it was a deep invitation for me. I've really journeyed with it since returning home, been meditating and inviting lion into my life and into my experience. And it's this key of deep self-acceptance for all that I am. And so it's been really, this event cracking me open with all the love and acceptance I felt at the time, to be able then to return to my own little hermit hall on Vancouver Island and be able to continue to hold that, to find the self-acceptance, the self-love that had been mirrored back to me by this amazing community. Yeah, and so after the event, after everything had wound down with the team, and a small group of us went to Avery Henge. Now, Avery Henge is this giant circle of stones, megaliths, that, unlike Stonehenge, which has become quite the tourist attraction, this is kind of untouched in a way. It's still honored and venerated in many ways. It does get visitors, but not nearly as many. And it's open to the public. You can just walk on in and experience these great stones, which was quite amazing. And so a group of us had felt the journey there. For me, there was this intention of grounding in some of this experience from London, to connect it to what is considered to be in many ways the umbilicus of the United Kingdom there in Avery. And it's part of something called the Michael Mary line, which extends right across the country. And so it was beautiful for us to gather in that space, and we opened up with a mantra, humming a mantra together around a keystone, opened up our day. And we didn't have any structure to the day. It was just like allow yourself to follow your own intuition, your own inner guidance, and go experience Avery for yourself. And people did. And they, as we stepped out, it was really fascinating. There was this giant murmuration of starlings flying across the skyline. And I think of that, the beauty of that in the synergy of these birds moving in one direction and then suddenly flowing in another direction, each listening to their own true north. And so that was the invitation in that day. And we did. And individuals made connections with their own unique stones at Avery and walked it at their own rhythm. And it was just really beautiful. And it was another way that we came in to connect. And instead of us going and walking through boggy mud and getting stuck in boggy mud, we went to the top of this hill that overlooked the whole landscape. And we were able to connect to this space called Silbury Hill, which we'd wanted to walk to, but we didn't quite expect the view that we ended up getting, which is this beautiful view, the sun beginning to sink beneath the horizon. And Silbury Hill is this space which has said to have contained this dragon egg, and that this dragon egg has cracked open, and a lot of visitors have been coming in because they're feeling this energy of this place. And of course, those of you who've been working with us this last year know about this Dream Arc Initiation Retreat and our connection to the dragon. And so this felt like a real coming together, a real integration of our connection with the dragon and walking the dragon lines of Avery, the energy lines of Avery. And of course, the dragon shows up in many ways. And this is one that is universally respected and understood in the world of nature, is these dragon lines, these energy lines weaving within the earth. And so that was really quite an amazing conclusion to the whole week. And so we just had a really amazing time, and we really look forward to doing more of this kind of thing in the future and having those kinds of synchronicities and magic that is so a part of this work with the Dream Arc, that during these times when there's deep upheavals going on within the systems of the world and simultaneously within inside of ourselves, that we're able to do this deep work, that we're invited in to do this deep work, the shadow of embracing the gifts and feeling the essence of those cities that move through us. And we do so with the Dream Arc. We approach it in this theme of deep play. There's this invitation to go deep in, and yet it's a way for us to interact with the world around us, to receive the messages from nature. And so I hope listening to this today, you've heard how, like, even in going to London, this big city, huge city, and some of our interactions being inspired by themes of nature. Even if it wasn't a direct interaction with a lion, that lion brought some focus and energy for me in my work and for other people in their work as they work with the fox and maybe other creatures I haven't heard about. But this is the nature of the Dream Arc. And so in these times ahead, I really look forward to us having more in-person gatherings together. We've got this intention. We're working towards this one for Vancouver Island, and there's going to be more beyond that. And we are open to the invitations and exploring possibilities and letting the Dream Arc dream through us as we undream the world of suffering and pain that so many of us have been experiencing, as we undream that world and dream together and live the dream of a new reality together.